Hey, guys, it's Wednesday morning. It is time for another episode of Cmon Ref. I don't know when you're going to be watching it, but we're actually recording it on Wednesday morning. I know that this week. I have a calendar over here. I'm looking at the day. I know it's Wednesday. I know it is. And I can somewhat tell time, so I know it's before noon. So it's good. We're Wednesday morning. We got a pretty good show for you guys today, I think, again. A huge weekend coming up in college football. I mean, really, really big games on the slate. And there's even some kind of big games that, we're not even going to have a chance to get to talk about really on the show. Interesting matchups. Like, we're not going to get to Florida State Clemson, but I think that's an interesting matchup that I think I'd like to catch at least some of that game. All kinds of stuff going on in the NFL. Just hundreds of storylines. Some of them aren't great. Some of them are better than others, I guess, like any other week. But let's get right into it because we haven't talked about baseball in a while on the show. You guys miss baseball? Remember baseball?
Yeah, baseball's still going on. I still watch sometimes.
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
I checked out when NFL started. I mean, my team's out, the Guardians are out. It's just not as fun as it was 3 months ago.
I get it. I guess I'm the only guy really on the show with a team left that's doing anything. I'm a Braves fan. Don't get me wrong, it's fun, but they have some serious holes. I mean, you guys have all watched baseball enough. You know the Braves could lose in the first round very, very easily. It could happen. I mean, it happens in baseball all the time. Seattle the one year won what? 110 games?
116.
114, whatever it was, and lost done first round. It happens. But hey, we'll see, right? The important thing is right now, all the wild card races they're kind of heating up down the stretch. It's kind of fun. I'll be honest, I haven't paid much attention to them because my team clinched and I'm just kind of watching roster spots and hoping the bullpen gets back together and, who knows what's going to happen, but I'm sorry.
I said you're on your way to a ring.
Maybe. I don't want to say that, I'm happy they won a couple years ago. I'm good with that. I'm not like a greedy fan. I don't need a ring every year.
Yes, you do.
Got my ring. I haven't gotten my ring from 2 years ago at
I just
Atlanta
want
Braves.
one, man.
Where's it at? Haven't gotten that yet, but all the blood, sweat, and tears I put in from my couch, I think I deserve one. Crazy that some people actually probably think that way. But yeah, I want to look at let's look at the AL wildcard standings because, like I said, there's some storylines here, some stuff to talk about. First of all, I think it's fun that Baltimore is the best team in the American League right now. Do you guys kind of agree with me there?
Yes,
Absolutely. They've been dormant and hiding in the nest for too long.
They're the most fun team in baseball this season.
Yes.
The Dong Bong.
They're heating up at the perfect time. They clinched a playoff berth for the first time since 2016, and they have a chance to win the AL East for the first time in God knows how long. And they're just really exciting and fun to watch. And I think it really all starts with Rutschman as their catcher.
The crazy part for me is they're a team full of first, second year, third year players. So they're going to have this core together for the next 5-6 seasons. And they're going to be a problem for the next 5-6 seasons at least.
There's a stat line with them too. Ever since Adley Rutschman made his MLB debut last season, they have never lost a series.
No, they haven't been swept. They've
been swept.
They've never been swept.
You know what's crazy? 2 years ago, they only won 53 games. Can you believe that?
Yeah. And now they've won 90.
That's crazy.
A good catcher
90 plus,
can stabilize
90 plus.
you. Listen, I know it's a little maybe sometimes underrated. I think people don't realize how important a catcher is. I played baseball for a long, long time. I was a pitcher, and people I think have the misconception that pitching is the most. Don't get me wrong, pitching is important, but you can have a great pitching staff, and if you have a terrible catcher, you're going to see it. You'll see it on the results on the field. It shows. Rutschman's been amazingly stabilizing. And you're right. I think Baltimore. I'm a Braves fan. I think Baltimore is the most fun team to watch.
Their base
so
running too.
I'm sorry.
Their speed on the base paths is like unmatchable. Like Cedric Mullins, Mateo, Gunnar Henderson, all those guys. They're just you get a base hit. Like if one of their guys is on first, you get a hit to the wall. They're scoring. That's how quick they can blow a game open on you.
Let me ask you guys, Jameson, let me ask you this. Baltimore, are they built for the playoffs? Do they have a deep run in them, or are they just kind of getting their feet wet this year, you think?
I think it's them just getting their feet wet because they haven't experienced postseason baseball since 2016. So do I think they'll make it to the ALCS World Series? No, I don't. I personally don't. because we got to look at the AL West, right? The AL West is heating up. You have the Astros, who are a half a game ahead of Seattle and Texas, and Seattle and Texas are tied for that third wild card spot right now. And Seattle and Texas play a key 3-game series in Arlington this weekend. So you got to look at all of those 3 teams that the Orioles are going to have to go through, along with the Rays.
That division could be, I think that division could be going towards a game 163. Where those games are always, I think the AL, the AL West could be going for a game 163 here to decide the division winner.
And we've seen that before. We saw that in the wild card in 2013. The Rays had to play a game 163 to face the Guardians in the wild card against Texas. That's when David Price is his prime.
Listen to me. This is one thing. Listen to this. I think for me, the game 163 doesn't quite hold the same weight that it used to, because now it's most likely, well, if it's that division, one of those teams is just going to get in, right? Like if they lose the game 163, they're most likely in. I don't know. It was kind of fun when it was like that one game, which is crazy after a 162 game season for it to come down to one game, right? That's pretty crazy, but it's a fun atmosphere. I think it's you're right. It's kind of cool. It just doesn't hold the same weight.
Like back before they expanded the playoff in the MLB, it had major importance. It was division winners.
And wild card. There was only one.
It was only in one wild card, and
then
then
had the second wild card till 2012.
Yeah.
It was like, because like I went to, like in 2017, I went to a game 163 between the Cubs and the Cardinals, and the Cardinals came out victorious in that one, and that was like major because they won the Central Division and they got higher seeding. Did the Cubs make the wild card and lose to the Rockies? Yes, but the game 163 also implies higher seeding.
Yeah. And by the way, that's Max, everybody. That Max is new to the show this week, new to class. So I just want to introduce Max. I forgot to do that at the top of the show. Say hello to Max, everyone. Hey, Max.
Hello.
Hey, Max.
Hey, Chad.
Jackson. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, man. I'm being disruptive. I got some breaking news. For you.
You're good.
I saw that Kareem Hunt just got signed by the Browns for a 1-year deal. I think up to $4 million. If my phone
It just happened. It just happened. We got live news on the show. That's pretty cool.
Live breaking news. We knew it was going to be him or Cam Akers, most likely. We knew that was
we
going to
can
be one of
jump
those two.
back.
We'll talk about that later.
Football. I just want to let you guys know you got to
For sure. Back. Yeah, breaking news. Again, Kareem Hunt, what'd you say, 1 year, $4 million?
Yeah.
Yep. So we'll see how fast I can get him acclimated to game speed and contact. I mean, he hasn't been through training camp. He hasn't been through any practices in quite some time. I don't know what he does on his own to keep in shape, but I'm sure he's not running full contact, drills.
Hopefully he's ready for this Sunday.
Got your ex-girlfriend back.
Hey, there you go.
Yes, this one way.
We'll see if it works this time. This time, we're going to be committed to the relationship. It's going to work this time. But yeah, I agree. I think the AL West, to get back to that, I think the AL West is pretty formidable. I would have thought the AL East, if you guys remember when we did the baseball preview show, I picked the Yankees to win that division. I was clearly wrong.
Yankees are terrible.
Yeah, sorry, Jackson, but the Yankees aren't good.
Oh, Max, thanks.
They are.
Yeah.
I had an internship over the summer with minor independent league baseball team, the Lake Erie Crushers in Avon. And one of my friends lives in Myrtle. One of my partners at the internship lived in Myrtle Beach, but his parents were Yankee season ticket holders for like 28 years. And he loves the Yankees. He would watch the Yankees games. I'm like, dude, they suck.
All right.
Josh Donaldson is terrible. He's like, yeah, I know, but we have to deal with it. I'm like, you don't really have to, but you guys should choose to.
Okay, this isn't a Yankee show. There's no reason
No, wait a minute, Jackson. Nonsense. We can make this a Yankee show. I'm fine with that, man. I'm
Shots
going
fired.
Let's talk the Yankees.
Can we just roast the Yankees for an hour? Why not? Yeah.
I mean the NL wild card is heating up pretty much too. The Phillies hold that first game spot with a 3-game lead over the Diamondbacks, and the Diamondbacks actually swept the Cubs this past weekend in Phoenix, and now the Diamondbacks have a half a game lead over the Cubs.
Don't forget the Marlins.
Yeah, and Miami's a half a game back of the Cubs, and Cincinnati's a game back as well. And San Fran has kind of fallen off. They're now 3 games back, and they're in the back of the pile there. So, and Miami's playing good baseball. They walked it off against the Mets last night, and they got Jake Berger from the White Sox at the trade deadline, and he's just nothing but flourish for them.
Josh Bell.
Josh Bell too with the Guardians.
Who did they get that burger from? They didn't get that from
The White
Jim
Sox.
Harbaugh?
The White Sox.
They didn't come from Hardball. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I didn't know why that was.
But I think Miami, this is if they make it, this is a feet wet because they don't have the former Cy Young pitcher Sandy Alcantara.
They did lose Sandy.
They lost him middle of the season.
This can be huge for them if they don't have him.
He pitched earlier in the year. He pitched a complete game in 1 hour and 57 minutes. So like that's a big arm that you're losing. That could give you some distance if you go make a run, but I think they'll get eliminated in the wild card.
I really would like to see Cincinnati overtake the Cubs. I mean, it's been a while since the Reds have been a fact.
13 or something like that.
I want to talk about Arizona for a sec because Arizona has now taken that second wild card spot, and they swept the Cubs this past weekend. They jumped them. Arizona was winning the NL West pretty much through June, and then they had a horrible July.
I think a lot of people got hurt,
and they kind of fell off. Like they were like below 500 at one point, and like people were writing them off, and now they're back. Arizona's back. They're in the second wild card. They have a good rotation with Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly at the top. They have so many fun young players with Corbin Carroll. They called up their top prospect, Jordan Lawler. I think this Arizona team is a team that can make some noise come October.
It seems like they're a team that's peaking. Sorry, Jackson. It seems like they're a team that's kind of peaking at the right time. Like you said, they kind of had a bad summer. Really, really bad through July. And then, I don't know, maybe that's okay. Maybe you
They're back on track now. That's all that matters.
Yeah. Jackson, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say all these teams at one point or another have had streaks. They're streaky, and then they all kind of died off. It's interesting to see who's going to be the team to streak again before the season ends. That's why I'm looking at the Reds, and I'd like to see the Marlins do something.
Corbin Carroll for the Diamondbacks he's
the rookie of the year.
Yeah, he's the NL Rookie of the Year favorite right now, and he came in this season and he lit up the MLB. Like All-Stars first year, I think he batted leadoff for the All-Star team.
He did.
In the NL for the All-Star game. And
Starting left fielder.
yeah, it's just in your rookie season, that's a big accomplishment. If you're leading off the All-Star game and you're the starting left fielder and you're leading the NL Rookie of the Year vote and you're gonna take a team to the playoffs, that's a big accomplishment for a rookie.
Pretty good rookie year. Pretty good.
Left out
Who's gonna get left out?
in the National League.
I truly think I don't think San Fran has it because, like you said, Jackson, a lot of teams are streaky, and it just seems like they're the streakiest team out of everyone because like they'll win 3 in a row and then they'll lose 4 in a row, and they're hit or miss. Like as a San Francisco fan, if I was one, I wouldn't be confident. Like your offense is, in my opinion, subpar, and your starting pitching is Logan Webb.
Yeah.
Like your bullpen is what saves you. And for Cincinnati, again, they're another streaky team. You have Will Benson, you have Edwin Encarnacion, who's been heating up, and they have a lot of key players that have been helping out that team as well. And with Miami, Miami's just been, I think, honestly dealt with injuries. That's why they're a half a game back because they had to deal with Sandy, and they didn't have Chisholm at the beginning of the year either. So. Yeah. Honestly, at the end of the day, I think it's injuries for Miami, but I still think I'd rather see Miami than the Cubs. Do I think they're going to be able to do it? No, because they have a tough schedule. I mean, they got Milwaukee this weekend, who's leading the NL Central.
It should be divisional rate.
And nobody's talking about the Brewers, by the way. No one's saying anything.
They're running away with the Central now. They are running away with the Central right now.
When the Brewers get hot in September, they stay hot in October.
Yeah, like the Brewers, and they have the starting pitching to make a deep run. The Brewers always do. They have the starting pitching to make a deep run. It's just a matter of do they have enough bats? That's really all.
And listen, the Braves are the Brewers are kind of a weird team for the Braves. I think that's a weird matchup. It scares me a little bit. I'm not one of these guys. Listen, but the Braves won the most games. They're going to win. That's nonsense in baseball.
They could lose in the NLDS. They could.
Yeah, exactly. And the Brewers scare me. They do. So.
I want to talk about the Cubs because I'm worried about them. Just 2 weeks ago, they had a 90% chance of making the playoffs. Now it's down, I believe, to like mid-50s. After they lost 2 series to Arizona, they're now only a half game ahead of Miami for that third wild card spot. They were like fully entrenched into that second wild card spot 2 weeks ago, and now they've just been kind of free falling the past couple of weeks.
They're in the deep water.
Yeah, they were the team everyone fell in love with because they were the hot team in August. They were hot in July. They bought at the trade deadline, and people were surprised that they did. And now they just haven't been playing very well recently. So I think it would be a huge disappointment if the Cubs had missed the playoffs.
I think that the Cubs aren't going to make it because ever since they won the World Series in 2016, they have not been the same since. Even though they've had a manager change and the catcher who won it, David Ross, they haven't been the same since. This year they were great. Picked up Dansby Swanson in the offseason.
And Bellinger.
And those have been 2 big bats. And I've heard that Bellinger's in the MVP talk in the NL.
He's having an amazing season.
Yeah, he's from like what he had in the past 2 years in LA. But I think the Cubs are going to get left out because they have to be able to finish the ball games. And they can't take sweeps right now. They have to keep winning ball games.
Yeah.
And really, ever since the All-Star break, Marcus Stroman and Steele have not been pitching that well. Like, they were great going into the All-Star break, but ever since then, they haven't been the same.
It's just, that's what the good teams who start hot in June, July, and May, when it hits the All-Star break somehow it goes wrong. And everything.
Yeah. Hey, when you're talking about the NL MVP, I would be shocked if that's not, it's going to be Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Ronald Acuna Jr., and Matt Olson. I don't think anybody else realistically gets into that talk. I don't think there's anybody else that.
It'll be.
Belly is probably 5. Bellinger.
Isn't Acuna on track for a 30-60 season?
He's not going to win it. It's obviously Acuna or Mookie at this point.
Yeah, I think that's it. But listen, Freddie Freeman's also having an historical season. I mean, Freddie Freeman's doing things that no one's done.
Matt Olson just broke the Braves home run record. He's not even top 3 right now.
How many home runs does he have?
52.
52 right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
He won't. By the way, Acuna's on 39. I mean, he's close to going 40-70 now. So it's
who Acuna or
64 stolen bases and 39 home runs right now.
He's ridiculous.
He's also the first player to have 60 stolen bases and 100 RBIs. I think since like 1973. I think it was Joe Morgan. Unbelievable, just unbelievable.
And when the Braves clinched the division, Brian Snitker said to Acuna, "You're going to get to play the World Series this time."
Yeah, that's their 6th in a row, by the way. 6th division title. You think they'll get to 14? They match the team from the 90s and 2000s.
I wouldn't be surprised with all the players signed to 10-year contracts.
Unbelievable. I mean, they've got that core locked up.
Yeah.
We know the Mets aren't going to do anything. They're looking at what, 2025, 2026 now.
Philly's their only competition.
The Mets are gonna get rid of so many people because they're not gonna have the money. That's why they got rid of
Pete Alonso. It looks like.
I've heard they're gonna trade him.
Yeah, they're not going forward with him at all.
They
would think they would look to make it to sign him to an extension, but they're not looking to do that.
They wasted too much money on Verlander, Lindor. Lindor's not been performing at all. Lindor is not. How much money was his? Like 180 or something like that.
He did have a 30. He is on pace for a 30-30 season somehow. Maybe the quietest 30-30 season.
It's like
seen with Lindor because people have been acting all year like he's been terrible. He hasn't been bad. He has the highest WAR of any shortstop in the National League.
They're just giving him discredit because he's on bad.
It's the contract.
He's just not on a very good team. I mean, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's like when the Indians and the Mets made that trade for Rosario, Jimenez, and Lindor. Lindor went there, had a good first year, and then he was like having a bad second and third year. Jimenez, halfway through his second year with us, his first full season, Gold Glove winner, All-Star second baseman. Like
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The Guardians won that trade. I don't think it's close.
No, I agree. We did win that trade.
Besides Ahmed Rosario, we won that trade.
But either way, we still won that trade because
Jimenez is making. Let's go around the table. I'm going to go in order of my screen. All right. So we're going to go, and it's kind of funny because my screen kind of cuts you guys off, so I can't see Jared and Nick, but I know you're there. I can hear you. We're gonna go Jared, Max, Nick, Jameson, and then Jackson. Okay, and then me. I guess I'll go last. Let's just not a whole lot of analysis. Again, I just want to pick your World Series matchup. Who plays in the World Series? Jared, give me 2 teams. Go.
I have right now I have the Braves and the Astros.
Fair.
Who wins?
Max, go. 2 teams.
I have the Braves, and if the Mariners make the playoffs, I have the Braves and the Mariners. Mariners in 7.
Okay. All right. I
Surprise.
like it. Nick, go ahead.
So preseason, I predicted Braves over Rays, and I'm gonna stick to it. I mean, everyone's picking the Braves right now, but since that's my preseason pick, I feel a little better about it. So I'm going Braves over Rays.
That's fair. Jameson, what do you got, man? World Series matchup.
Wow. I'm going with the Houston Astros and the Phillies in a rematch. Bryce Harper gets his first in 7 games.
That would be nice for Harper. He's
waited too long.
I wouldn't be mad at that. Listen, you don't like to see your team lose, but I would not be upset to see Harper get a World Series title, man. That'd be
The
fine.
year the Nationals won it, he was in Philadelphia.
It's painful, man. Painful. He's a good dude. He's a great player, man. I don't understand the hate he gets.
Yeah.
Jackson, go ahead.
I'd like it to be Baltimore and the Dodgers, but I got a feeling it's going to probably be, and I hate saying Astros Braves because I sound like everybody else, but damn, I mean, I'd sound like I didn't know what I was talking about if I didn't say Astros and Braves. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
But
mean, it seems like it's headed that way, but baseball is just so crazy.
It would be cool to see the Orioles and the Dodgers, though.
Yeah.
That would be a good one.
I would like that matchup. I
And
would love that matchup.
and the Orioles win it because I'm so sick of the
Yeah.
Dodgers.
Oh no, that
My
would be
dad,
yeah.
in 2020, my dad was like, I'm like, Dad, who do you want to win the World Series? He's like, the Rays. I hate big money market teams. I'm like, that's fair.
Yeah.
But I
Why
mean,
not?
the Rays are going to have like a $1 or $2.8 billion stadium built by 2028. So
I did see that. I'm just glad they're staying.
Listen, yeah, that's a great point. Who's going to go to those games? No one goes to games in St. Petersburg. I mean, you're going to build a brand new building. It's going to be exactly what happened to Miami. They're going to build that huge stadium, and no one's going to come fill it up.
They could win
I was really
162
confused when I heard it was
games
going to be in
and
St.
will not
Pete again.
sell out.
it's like,
Yeah, it won't fill out. They're going to end up in Tennessee, the Rays. Right?
it's like
Or they're
the
gonna have an
question,
amendment.
why did Derek Jeter get rid of that home run statue out in Miami? That was like a piece of the park's history. Like, we built this for this team, this new stadium, and then we like rebrand everything. Jeter shows up and he takes the fun away. He's like George Steinbrenner, the Yankees. No fun.
I think he sold it on eBay to try to create some roster. I don't know, maybe not.
What about you,
but
Chad?
yeah,
What do you got?
Listen, man, it's hard to not like. I want to pick with my heart, and I want to say Braves Astros. I mean, I think Braves
I
win
hate
that
the
matchup in
Astros.
7. But I think it really could be. You guys are going to think this is weird, man, but I think we could be looking at a Phillies Rangers World Series.
I can
See-
see it. The Rangers bullpen scares me. The Rangers bullpen scares me too much.
Yeah,
But
but listen,
but
everybody's bullpen scares me a little bit.
But
right now.
Aroldis
Everybody.
Chapman can't come in and save the game.
You
He,
never just
he blew the reason why the Rangers were out of first place so damn quick was because of him. Because he
But
blew
listen,
every
we know
save
that baseball,
opportunity.
crazy things happen in October in baseball. Absolutely, no one would have picked the Phillies to go to the World Series last year.
Not at all.
At this time of year, no one would have said the Phillies are going to the World Series. No one would have said.
Remember last season, no one picked the Guardians to even make the playoffs. They picked
Yeah.
everybody picked every baseball, every newspaper, every sports site picked them to be dead last in the AL Central,
Yeah,
and they
That was-
won, and they were in first, and they took the Yankees to 5 games.
yeah.
That was a different situation.
Anything can happen in October, man. That's baseball. That's baseball.
Just got to get in.
The Dodgers won 111 games last year and lost in the first round.
Yeah, so
The Braves lost in the first
Braves won
round.
100,
They
yeah.
looked like, they were clearly going to be, the second best team in the National League. I mean, I know the Dodgers had the win total, but yeah, first round exit. I mean, it happens. It's unfortunate, but it does happen. And I want to move on a little bit because I think we'll get Jameson back in here in a minute, but there's like just a really, really impressive slate of college football games coming up this weekend. And I think before we get into that, I want to talk about just briefly, I don't want to get into stats and numbers and break down the games too much, but obviously Colorado State was a huge game last weekend. I don't know how much of the game you guys caught. I tried to catch as much.
I
as
saw the
possibly
whole thing.
could. Yeah.
I watched that.
Whole
I-
thing.
I
Yeah,
stayed up
I
till
tried to
2 in
catch
the
as much as
morning.
I could between putting the kids to bed and everything else. But yeah, I mean, listen, Colorado beats Colorado State 43-35, 2 overtimes. It just becomes this emotional, personal battle because of some comments by, Colorado State's head coach, which I thought maybe were unnecessary in the beginning. He tried to backtrack it a little bit. Game got a little chippy because of it, maybe, but I don't know. What would college football be without the spectacle of college football, I guess, right? So that's fine.
Right.
Yeah. But again, they're going to be without Travis Hunter for a few weeks, and they've got, I think, their first huge test this weekend, right? They go to Eugene for the first conference test. They're going to play Oregon. Number 10 Oregon, by the way, and I think Oregon's a really good team on both sides of the ball. I think they've got things kind of working. I don't know, Jared. How do you see this game going? Does Colorado come back to earth a little bit this weekend?
I think so, because like I said in the show last week when we were looking at their schedule, I didn't even know who Colorado State was, and I thought it was just going to be a blowout. I mean, you're 22.5-point favorites, and then you're down by 11 in the fourth quarter, and then you come back to beat them in double overtime. If you're Colorado, without Travis Hunter especially, you should be a little worried. I mean, Oregon, we said a few weeks ago on the show, they barely beat Texas Tech, but as you said, Oregon is number 10, and this is an away game. This isn't Colorado, So I definitely think Colorado's going to get tested in the waters a bit. And they're definitely going to have to come up with a game plan to try to overcome Oregon. And I think it's going to be really tough for them. It's hard to predict the score.
Yeah, communication is going to be really key there. But they call it the Autzen Zoo for a reason. I mean, that stadium's crazy.
Right.
Jackson, how do you feel about Colorado heading into to Oregon this weekend?
Well, Travis Hunter not being available, it sucks because he plays on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
And he's effective on both sides of the ball. So, if anything, unfortunately, Colorado may look more human. They may look more vulnerable. They may not look like what we've been seeing since the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, if Oregon were to win this game, if they cover the spread, I don't think it's too much of a reason to hit the panic button because it's not the actual Colorado Buffalo squad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because they're going to miss Travis Hunter during the most damaging part of their schedule.
Yeah.
Oregon and USC is going to be the apex of the schedule.
It's a rough couple weeks.
I'll close by saying this. One of two things will be determined out of the next 2 weeks. You're either going to see the human Colorado without their superpowers, and they're going to look very much beatable. They're going to look beatable, or you're going to see a team that believes in next man up. They're going to pull off an upset, even if they were to go 1-1 over the next 2 weeks. That's a tremendous success, all things considered.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, our friend Jameson just popped by to say hello.
Is 1-1 a success for them?
Yeah, I think that's a success. Jameson, listen, we were just talking about obviously Colorado heading to Oregon. I don't know, give me a hot take from this weekend's game. Something crazy that happens, or I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, I kind of want to go with Jackson's take. There's kind of two ways this is going to go, right? Either we're going to see Oregon continue to put up an exorbitant amount of points, right, and just keep scoring and run them over, or we're going to see the Colorado Buffaloes actually punch back and potentially maybe get an upset here. This game is a big game. It has Pac-12 implications, for both teams, maybe even playoff implications. And I think it's great, but I cannot wait for the quarterback matchup. It'll be great.
Could have Heisman implications,
Shedeur Sanders. These are two guys who, as of recently, have gotten some hype and could potentially even be quarterbacks at the next level. I'm not saying much. That's all I'll say on that. But it'll be interesting to see it because this will be the game ultimately that I think everyone will be watching once it is on, because I expect a lot of scoring even without Travis Hunter.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's fair. Colorado still has weapons. And listen, for the record too, I don't know. I guess Nick, let me get your thoughts on this after I say this. If I had to pick between Shedeur Sanders and Bo Nix right now, if I'm an NFL executive and I'm on the clock and I need a quarterback and these are the two guys left, whatever on the board. I don't think there's any question I go Shedeur Sanders. I don't know. I just think, I don't know. It's like what do I want to say? The intestinal fortitude, man. Like they couldn't get anything going against Colorado State for however long, couldn't score. And then 98-yard drive to tie it up to send it into overtime. I mean, that's Brady mode. He said it, right? I mean, I'm sorry, Jackson.
I was saying that's pretty convincing.
Yeah. I mean, that's not the whole story, but that's a pretty long chapter. And I was extremely impressed. Nick, what are your thoughts on this game this week?
If last week improved anything, it's that Shedeur Sanders is the reason Colorado is winning football games. Him and Travis Hunter combined. Shedeur Sanders is as legit as it comes as a quarterback. He's thrown for over 300 yards in all 3 games so far. He is now projected top 10 NFL draft pick. He's being thrown in the Heisman race. So I think that if Colorado does pull off this upset in Eugene, it will be because of Shedeur Sanders. That will be the reason. And I am worried about this matchup, Colorado defensively, because they did give up 35 points to Colorado State. And they also gave up 42 points to TCU. And we all know how high-powered Oregon's offense is. So I think this is going to be a really tough test stopping Bo Nix and Oregon. But if there's any, Shedeur Sanders is going to keep them in the game, is what I think is going to happen. He's that good.
Yeah. One thing that plays into Colorado's favor, I think, a little bit is they're going to have to take what Oregon gives them defensively, and that could help run some more time just with the ball, right? And keeping the ball out of Oregon's hands, I think, is good. The less that Bo Nix has the football, the better for Colorado. But it's shaping up, even with the new clock rules. It kind of feels like a game that Colorado might have to score, high 40s, maybe even low 50s to win, right? Like a 52-49 type of game it could be. I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited to watch it. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm going to catch the game for sure, though. I'm going to catch it this weekend. Max, let me ask you: is Oregon green and yellow?
Yes.
Good job, Jackson. What were you going to say? I'm just kidding.
I was going to say, before mentioning how Oregon, Colorado State scored 35 points. I keep wanting to go back and say it was a rivalry game. It was extremely tricky, very physical. Colorado State played the hardest football those kids have played in the last 6 years of their lives that evening. That's not the same Colorado State you're going to see from here on out. They would literally have to play that intense every week to be good. And I'm just saying that's not the Colorado State team that Colorado played. So you kind of got to overlook the final score and a lot of stats. That was Colorado State playing out of their mind.
Yeah.
That wasn't.
I think you're right. I think some games are just outliers. Some games are just different. I mean, people get so caught up in trying to use this team beat this team 59-48. So that team, it doesn't work that way in football. It doesn't work that way in any sport, really. It just, every game is a case by case basis. I mean, if these teams played 10 times, you'd see 10 different results with 10 completely different games. It's just, it's any given Saturday. I mean, it really is what happens that day. And people get so caught up on one game being like the legacy for a team or for a program, whatever. It's nonsense.
I did add to Colorado before they go into these final games, these next couple games, I'm catching Rocky 3 vibes. I really want them to cut back on the celebrities on the sidelines, cut back on all the hype, the pregame. Like that had to be the longest Thursday through Saturday for those kids last week. And I really want them to kind of focus on football for the next few weeks, just football. Put everything behind them, focus on football.
Yeah, I would love to see Deion Sanders wrestle Thunder Lips in an exhibition charity match, though. And, I hope Colorado doesn't get Clubber Lang, though. That's the one thing. I can see, I can see a letdown coming. And the one thing I don't want to see is if there is a letdown. One thing I want to say about Shedeur Sanders, too. I know the game's different now, whatever. That's fine. But he's the first Colorado quarterback to throw for 300 yards in each of his first 3 games in school history. That's something. But when there is a little bit of a letdown, because there will be, I mean, he's human, right? He's going to face a decent defense at some point that's going to hold him to, 240 and a couple touchdowns, maybe an interception, he might lose a fumble. Watch the media fall out from it. Just watch what happens. That's all I'm saying. Just watch what happens. It won't be the same, as it is for. I think he's under such a microscope for so many reasons, and a lot of them are really unfair. But yeah, I think people are watching him. He's under the microscope now. People are gonna watch him closely.
People are just going to use the coach's kid excuse. That's what people have been saying about him.
Yeah,
It's unfair. It's so unfair because he is a great player.
He's one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the nation, I think.
Undoubtedly.
Listen, I'm an Ohio State fan. I would take him right now at Ohio State.
I would.
That's not a question.
Yeah. There's no shade toward Kyle McCord or Devin Brown or anybody on that roster. But if I could have Shedeur Sanders, yes, please. I mean, please.
Yeah.
I tried. I said please. We'll see what happens. I want to move on to another, kind of a traditional power, maybe heading the other way, maybe, sliding back down the hill. Maybe they'll meet soon. Alabama. Listen, I got to ask you. I'm just going to ask you this way. And, Jared, I'll start with you because you're just first on my screen again. I'm going to go around the horn. Is Nick Saban's grip on college football slipping a little bit?
I think it is. I mean, it's the first time Alabama has been ranked out of the top 10 since 2015, and they have a quarterback problem. And they didn't score a lot of points this past weekend against South Florida, and their schedule doesn't get much easier. They face Ole Miss this weekend, who's ranked number 15. They got Tennessee coming up, who, yes, Tennessee lost to Florida, but it's the SEC. Anything can happen, So I do think this is the year where Alabama slips and falls down and doesn't make any noise in the college football playoff. And then you got to ask yourself, if you're one of the front offices in Alabama and an Alabama fan, is Coach Saban's time up?
Yeah. Max, do you think, is it possible that if maybe Alabama finishes 8-4 and, heads to some weird bowl game that, nobody cares about, but we watch anyway because it's the only college football we have on the winter. Do you think that it's possible that we're talking about Saban being on the hot seat coming into next year? Or do you think that's enough to make him just say, hey, look, man, I'm done. I'm not coming back to this mess. I mean, do you think we could see Nick Saban not coaching on the Alabama sidelines in the next year or two?
It depends on how they finish, to me. Because right now they're going to start getting into the heart of the SEC play. And these are the games where it's going to be make or break for this Alabama team. And this is one of the first times that I've seen Alabama have a quarterback crisis. Because they started a quarterback, they benched him in the second quarter, brought another guy in, and now they're saying Jalen Milroe is going to start next weekend. Yeah. It's like,
yeah,
you say, oh, this is our start, and he was a Notre Dame transfer. And it's like, I've never heard of Jalen Milroe before. This is the first time I've ever heard of the guy. And and he got benched in week 3. Yeah. And then the guy who replaced him got benched in a quarter. I think Alabama is starting to fall off the cliff.
They're confused.
But soon they're going to get a quarterback like Bryce Young, Mac Jones, Jalen Hurts, like Tua, like those guys. They're going to get a quarterback who will probably lead them back to glory. And I don't think I gave my Colorado-Oregon take, but Colorado's going to go in there and get whooped because they're not ready for a big test like this. Even they faced a 17th ranked TCU who was in the national championship game, but they lost a lot of star power that TCU team did. And then they went to Nebraska. Nebraska's not good at football. They're not. This Colorado State team, they played a good game, but then again, Shedeur Sanders.
Not a good football team. Yeah.
Not a good football team. Shedeur Sanders just came and started throwing the ball. A weakness, I'll say, for Colorado is they cannot guard the underneath routes. Those underneath routes are what killed them on Saturday against Colorado State.
Yeah. And I'm gonna move on to Nick. I want to keep it with Saban because I found an interesting quote via ESPN.com, something that Nick Saban said to me, and I kind of want to get your take on this, Nick, as well. This is kind of a crazy way to pick your starting quarterback because we know they've all three struggled, right? I mean, they've been bad, almost historically bad. But something that Nick Saban said, and I'm going to just read the quote to you. He said, quote, "This is all I'm going to say about this. Jalen really showed the leadership I was looking for in terms of supporting his teammates." And he added that he's earned the opportunity to be the quarterback. So that's the situation that you're in right now. If you're Alabama and you're Nick Saban, you're listen, leadership qualities are excellent. Okay. But when you have three excellent quarterbacks that are like neck and neck and they're all really good and you're trying to pick the best leader, that's a lot more fun than guys who have like historically bad QBRs trying to play college football and going, well, Jalen's the best leader. So I'll throw him out there. Maybe something will happen. Nick, I mean, I don't even know how to say it, man. Can they turn this around? I mean, is one of these guys going to step up for Bama? Like, what do you think is going to happen?
I think this year is going to be a definite down year for Alabama. I don't think there's anything they can do this season that will. I mean, they could win out and make the playoff. Like, it's Bama. Would we even be surprised at this point? Not really. No. But this year, I do think they're headed towards a down season, and it starts with the quarterback play, but it also doesn't end there, in my opinion. I saw something on Twitter. It was a writer put it out. Now with the transfer portal, Saban isn't having these 5-stars sit on the bench for these 5-stars don't want to sit on the bench for a couple of years. They want to play right away. So Saban isn't. So if someone doesn't play at Alabama for 1 year, they're out. That's what's happening a lot. So with NIL, with the transfer portal, I think that's part of the reason that Bama is kind of falling behind programs like Georgia. Georgia passed them, in my opinion, when they won that first national title, like as the current power of college football. Obviously, Alabama dynasty, it's the best we've seen in decades for college football. But at this point, I do think Georgia has passed them up. I think Ohio State is even on another level compared to Bama right now. Like, I wouldn't be surprised, though, if Saban figures it out in the next couple of years, turns it around, wins another national title, because he's Nick Saban. He's the best coach we've seen in college football since probably the 1960s.
Now,
so I wouldn't be surprised if Saban turns it around, but I do think this season they're headed towards a down season.
Now, I'll say,
listen, I wouldn't be surprised if Saban just doesn't have the energy to do it anymore. Recruiting is different now with NIL and the transfer portal. Like you said, there's so much more to keep track of. There's so much more, you've got to keep these guys really happy or like you said, they're gone. And I think something that you said kind of, it sparked a thought in my mind, like, what's a better flex right now? Like, if you don't feel like you really have a home, but you've got a committable Alabama offer, right? You commit there, you bide your time, you transfer out, you've got Alabama on your resume, right? Like I was an Alabama football player.
Right.
I think that helps. I think that pulls a lot of clout. Jackson, am I crazy, or is that maybe why they're losing guys in the transfer portal? I mean, you think is that a thing or no?
Well, like it was stated earlier, the transfer portal, NIL, the face of college football, player relations with coaches, recruiting, the dynamics are changing. Mm-hmm. So it's allowing teams like you guys said, if you're a 5-star guy, you don't have to. You don't have to just be like, well, I want to play for Bama. I'm 5-star. I got to be here. No, there's other schools you can go to, win, play, and it doesn't have to be Alabama. So I don't think this year, like I was telling an Alabama fan over the weekend, 9-3, 10-2 ain't it. Not for them. 9-3, people are going to be crying. People are going to be pissed. They're going to be asking for Saban's head. Like in Alabama, the culture and expectation level is so great and greater than everywhere else. It's the perception. Yeah. Alabama only looks this bad because of how traditionally good they are. Yeah. There's a lot of teams that would love to have Alabama's situation right now. There's probably about 120 teams that would love to have Alabama's situation. As far as quarterbacks, I'm not exactly I think Jared said it, they're confused. I don't think they necessarily know what they want out of their quarterback. Yeah. It's like depending on the game, depending on the situation, that's going to determine the guy.
Yeah. That's fine. That's fair.
I just feel like this year, I agree with Nick. This will be their down season. I don't see them staying down. Georgia definitely is the guy at the top of the mountain in the SEC.
Yeah.
SEC can be wide open. There's certain teams, anybody can beat anyone. But I close with this. I'm happy to see Alabama not at the top. It's good for parity. It's good just.
I'm sure everyone is.
I'll say one thing. The last good Alabama team I remember was the 2020 national championship team.
That was their list.
They have not been good since. And
They've
pretty
been
much
good, but not great. That's I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, they've been
but
good, but not great. I
not like
understand. what you're
dynasty, not like championship
No.
worthy teams.
saying.
So
Not at the level we're used to seeing from Alabama. I know
it's
what you mean.
like with the Buckeyes. I don't think
Well, hold on. We'll get to the
now-
Buckeyes in a minute. Yeah, we'll get to the Buckeyes in a minute. But I want to get Jameson's take on this really quickly because we've just been around the horn. And I have one quick take too on Saban and Jameson. I want to see if you agree with me on this. Okay. Saban has never been a quarterback guy, right? Always been a defensive coach. I mean, ever since the days of, when he left Ohio State, Michigan State, whatever, those days, always known as a defensive coach. I feel like he kind of stumbled onto Jalen Hurts. He stumbled onto Tua. Listen, it's not a mistake. These guys, Bama went out and got these guys for a reason. But what I'm saying is Nick Saban didn't like mold Bryce Young into the first overall draft pick, right? Like he always had game managers and just a really strong defense. And I think they've gotten away from that identity a little bit. Do you think he's just coaching not above his head because he's clearly, he's Nick Saban, but do you think he's just out of his comfortable waters a little bit? Like he's coaching these teams that now you've got to score 40 points to win. And I feel like he's uncomfortable. Do you think that's right or no?
Well, Chad, that's actually some good information, good opinion right there. I think personally that Nick Saban, like you said, he's always been a defensive guy, and maybe won the lottery with guys like Bryce Young and Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, and Fat Jones. But anyways, I really do think that we've seen this with Alabama. We've seen them have early season scares over the last few seasons, and even with those guys I named. And when you look at their schedule, I mean, you kind of snap back to reality. You got Ole Miss this weekend, then you got Mississippi State, Texas A&M, and Arkansas. That is a 4-game stretch where they can very well go 4-0. They can very well move up back into the top 5 or even back up to as far as 3 or 2. I mean, last year we saw what Jackson Dart did against Alabama. It wasn't pretty, right? I look at their schedule. They face a LSU team, which we saw them get absolutely destroyed by FSU. Is LSU legit? We don't really know.
But they just destroyed Mississippi State.
Right. They just killed Mississippi State, but Mississippi State has changed their whole offense since Mike Leach's death. They have not let Will Rogers pass the ball as much. He's passed for 4,000 yards, and this year in 3 games, I think he's only thrown like 56 passes, which is ridiculous.
I heard they're a run heavy this year too. That's what I've heard.
They run too much, yeah, and they don't even average enough yards. And then like you got Auburn, they haven't been able to beat Bama in God knows how long. The only game I can see Bama realistically losing is the rematch with Tennessee. That is realistically the game I can see them losing, because the only reason I think Tennessee lost to Florida is because Florida's playmakers made plays and their defense showed out, and the swamp had an effect on it. I see Alabama going 11-1. It's hard for me to see them fall off because my whole life, Nick Saban has literally been Darth Vader, and he has ruled the college football galaxy. So it'll stay like that.
JMO, I would agree with like one early season loss wouldn't scare me. To be honest, that South Florida game is that made me feel a lot worse. Like if they would have blown out South Florida, I could be on the same page as you right now. I would be like, yeah, okay, they can go 11-1. They can get back in this. The fact they were being shut out in the second quarter against South Florida.
To be fair, they started Tyler Buckner. He sucks.
But still,
Listen, Western Kentucky hung 41 on South Florida, okay, a couple weeks ago.
But the fact that they like good teams almost lost to like unranked teams this weekend is insane.
Yeah,
it's like
it was kind of a down weekend. It just sort of felt like one of those weekends where nobody really cared. Nobody cared, but it just was like a letdown weekend. It was like no huge matchups, no big whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I want to move on because I think it's time to talk about. Okay, go ahead.
The last time Alabama beat Auburn was when Jalen Hurts was the quarterback.
There you go.
That was a long time ago.
That does feel like a long time ago, actually. But listen, I want to move on. I don't know if one of these quarterbacks is going to step up in time or not. I have no idea what the time. Like you said, James, they could very well go 11-1. I could see him being 8-4. They've got Ole Miss this weekend. It's going to be a tough test. They're going to have to grind out some 13-10 type wins. But Saban will figure it out, right? He'll figure it out, won't he?
He's Saban.
He always does.
He's a GOAT.
He always has.
If they get 2 losses, there's no way they're making the college football playoff. That's a general.
No. Their chances
Because
of being down,
Georgia
I think,
has a
less than
softer
5%.
schedule. So no.
2 losses in any college football team, you're done. You're like not making the playoff at all.
Yeah,
Alabama.
unless everybody stops showing up. I mean,
Yeah, unless like teams go like,
But listen, that could happen this year. We could have a bunch of 11-1, 10-2 teams at the top. I don't know. I mean,
We
you never
could.
know.
Ohio State, 11-1, and they almost they pretty much beat Georgia, but Georgia escaped at the end.
Yeah, that's fine. And speaking of Ohio State, I do want to move on. They handled Western Kentucky easily this weekend, 63-10. Not a whole lot to glean from that. I think the defense looked good against kind of a tricky team. Team that likes to get the ball out quick and throw it all over the field. I thought, it was promising to see that it still looked like they had a bunch of guys in position on defense. And I don't know. I thought that was promising. The second quarter explosion for 35 points was huge. That was nice to see. Again, it's nice to know that they have that in their pocket. I know it's Western Kentucky. I know, but they didn't pull it out against Youngstown State the week before. So it was nice to see that they do have that tool in their pocket. But they're on the road for their first real test of the year. And I don't know. It's easy to say like, Notre Dame never beats Ohio State. They haven't beaten them since the 30s or whatever, but they've only played 5 times since like 95. And obviously Ohio State's 5-0, but what do you guys think about this? I mean, on the road in South Bend, what happens at the Ohio State Notre Dame game? Jackson, let's start with you. I'm going to go a weird order this time.
Ohio State, Notre Dame. This is always a great matchup, tradition-wise. There's a lot of history in both teams. I like the Marcus Freeman effect. I got a weird feeling that something about him being the coach of Notre Dame, it's going to play a factor. I think the kids are going to step up and want to win this game for the coach, win one for the Gipper, win one for Marcus. I mean, it's all the same. I just think the biggest fear I have is Ohio State hasn't been tested yet.
Mm-hmm.
And we've done a lot of bitching and complaining and moaning about the Buckeyes so far. It's like the Buckeyes should be 3-0, and we should just be like, yeah, man, we're going to take Notre Dame apart. None of us are feeling that way. I looked up Hartman. He ain't even thrown a pick yet this year. I don't feel good about this game only because I don't think the Buckeyes are as 3-0 as their record says. And it has nothing to do with them. It's the teams they've played. I don't think they've performed up to par based on who they've played. I think Notre Dame looks better thus far based on who they played.
Agreed.
It's like Ohio State get punched in the head this weekend, and nobody's even aware of that.
I agree. I think it could. I think the two teams are pretty even talent-wise. And the only separation comes at the quarterback position, and that's not good for Ohio State. If it comes down to quarterback play, I'm not saying Kyle McCord can't do it. I'm not saying that he cannot go on the road and win a big game. We obviously just haven't seen it happen yet. And wow, I mean, yeah, Notre Dame's getting some really good quarterback play right now. Jameson, last year, 21-10, the Buckeyes won last year. I don't think it's going to be that kind of game this year. Notre Dame's going to score, right? I mean, they're going to score.
Yes, I think now Ohio State comes into this game, this is funny. They come into this game as 3.5-point favorites. They're favored to win on the road. And, I do think it's going to come down to quarterback play. I like Sam Hartman. I've watched him since he's been at Wake Forest. I think this guy's got the it, right? Like he's that dude.
9,000 yards and 90 plus touchdowns. Yeah.
We saw last year, Notre Dame had a stagnant. All right, to put it in comparison, last year Notre Dame's offense was Boston Celtics Shaquille O'Neal. This year, Notre Dame's offense, right? Wow. This year, Notre Dame's offense is MVP Shaq. It's vibrant. It's ready to go. It's scoring at a high pace. It cannot be stopped. Chris Tyree is a good receiver. They have a four-headed backfield. All right. They have four running backs averaging over 4.5 yards per carry. There's so many words I could say for that, but I'm gonna just move on. And I think although Kyle McCord has gotten better every game, this game is going to basically tell Ohio State fans, is Kyle McCord going to be the starter not only for the rest of this year, which I think he will regardless, but will he be the starter next year? And will Ohio State be better than that other team in the Big Ten, you know? And honestly, I think both teams have a good defense. Both teams have a good running attack, but it's hard, man, to pick a winner in this. And I'm going to be a little biased. I think Tommy Eichenberg is going to have the game of his life on defense.
Okay.
I think Denzel Burke is going to make Sam Hartman throw his first pick. And I think Ohio State's going to win it in an absolute shootout of a game. Give me Ohio State in a 38-35 game.
Okay. Jared, let me ask you this. Is Kyle McCord LSU Shaq? We don't know a lot about him yet. Like, we know we see some flashes, right? We see some things that could happen. Also, I want to ask you something that Jameson said, the shootout. I kind of feel like it could be the same. I know these teams have good defenses and they're going to play some good defenses, but I feel like this could be a game of some big plays. And I think as Ohio State fans, we have a little bit of PTSD when it comes to big plays, right, against the defense. But we're going to see a couple this weekend, and it's going to freak everybody out. You know, we're going to poop our pants and yell and say, hey, what is going on? Even if they do win, I think it's going to feel kind of bad, right? Because Notre Dame's going to play them really well. I don't know. Jared, what do you think about this, man?
I agree with Jameson 100%. I definitely think this is going to be a shootout and an offensive affair. And as Jameson and Jackson both said, it's going to come down to the quarterback play and Ohio State's defense. I mean, obviously, Ohio State hasn't faced big-name teams, but their defense has been pretty solid for the most part. And that's what we talked about before the college football season even started. Was Ohio State's defense going to be better than in recent years? And so far, we've seen that. Now they have their best ultimate test of the season so far. And on the road, it's going to be tough. You know, every time Ohio State has that one loss during the regular season, it's always on the road, you know, being away from Columbus. So it's not only going to be a test for their defense and the quarterback positions, but it's also going to be a test for them on the road, you know, because if they win this game, if they beat that team from up north, then you have to learn to play on the road in the college football playoff as well. You know, Obviously that's ways away. We have to take care of business this Saturday, but it's definitely going to be a barn burner. And as you said, some key plays that are going to happen. Would love to see the defense really step up, get some interceptions, even maybe a forced fumble, you know, because as Jameson and Jackson are saying, Kyle McCord, he's going to have to continue to grow, and it's not just going to happen in one game.
Yeah.
Right.
Nick, let me ask you, is this the game where Ohio State finally gets some pressure on the quarterback from the defensive end spot? I mean, Notre Dame runs a little bit more of a traditional. They're not like a quick, just whip the ball out. I think they've got some time to get to Hartman, I guess is what I'm saying. Can they do it?
I'm not confident that will happen because JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer just haven't been that productive so far this season and against a lot worse tackles than they're going to face against Notre Dame.
Yeah, Notre Dame's line's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, they always have great linemen, Notre Dame does. Yep. And
smart linemen too.
Yeah. And for me, though, this is the first time you talk about Ohio State hasn't really played anyone. Neither is Notre Dame. Like, they played NC State, but NC State hasn't been good in a long time. But this is the first real tune-up for both of these teams. So both teams are coming in with that kind of stigma. They haven't played anyone yet. But it's gonna come down to the offenses, in my opinion, which if Kyle McCord can go blow for blow with Sam Hartman. Sam Hartman's top 10 all-time in passing touchdowns in college football history. And Kyle McCord's only started 4 games in his whole career. So if Kyle McCord goes in there and wins this game, I don't think anyone can question him anymore, right? Like,
no, I think you'll let him have the keys to the
Mm-hmm. And I do think Ohio State is still more talented on offense. Like, Notre Dame doesn't have the guys outside like Marvin Harrison, Emeka Egbuka, Julian Fleming. They don't have those guys. They also don't have.
There are NFL teams that don't have those guys.
Yes. So for that reason, I do think Ohio State comes out with a victory, but it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a battle, and I hope both quarterbacks just go blow for blow with each other.
Yeah, and I think if it's going to be a close game, it comes down to coaching. And Max, don't you think Ryan Day would have the edge there?
Major edge because Marcus Freeman, right?
Young coach.
Yeah. So he last year they started what 0-2. They lost to Marshall and who's our team?
Ohio State.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they
No,
lost to
no.
Ohio State. Marshall they started 0-2. But
I was going to let him go for a while.
with Kyle McCord
Welcome to the show.
and Ryan Day, I think that now that Ryan Day trusts Kyle McCord as his quarterback, I think we're going to be in for a fun ride because I think the reason why we didn't blow out Indiana or Youngstown State was because Kyle McCord was still fighting for a job. I think that because that we blew out Western Kentucky, because he knew this is my job now. I own this spot. No one is coming in no one's coming in during this game but me, unless we're blowing them out. And that's what happened. Devin Brown came in when it was 63-0, 63-10.
Yeah.
That's it. Kyle McCord was in that whole game. I think that now that Kyle McCord has the confidence and Ryan Day boosted his confidence so much because Ryan Day chose him. If Ryan Day said, oh, we're in this Western Kentucky game, we're going to go Devin Brown and Kyle McCord, that game would not have been 63-10.
No.
That would have been
and I think it had
game.
to be settled more than just a week going into Notre Dame. Like it couldn't still be in question on Monday this week, right?
Right. You can't go. That Indiana game was rough too. 23-3. Our defense was great in that game.
Sure.
Devin Brown was atrocious in that game. Devin Brown was atrocious against Youngstown.
Yeah, and to be fair, he didn't get a whole lot of time to get things rolling.
He doesn't have time to get into a rhythm.
I mean, the throws were off, and
but we don't have time to get two quarterbacks in rhythm.
Right,
and we don't have time to get two quarterbacks in rhythm. We just don't.
And our offensive line against Western Kentucky really picked it up because those first two games they were missing blocks left and right, and a lot of that contributed to why we were punting so much. Like we don't normally punt that much. We're always third and short, and then when we ran the ball, we were getting stuffed at the line because someone missed a block. And
no push off the line at all.
It didn't help that, what was it? That like the line, they loaded the box with linebackers and linebackers, like two of them dropped back into coverage and they thought they were going to send them all because it was third down. Didn't help that they sent two back and one went right through the hole that was there and tackled the guy. So I think that this week it'll be a test for Ohio State, but they'll easily get it done. Sam Hartman is going to have a good game, but it's going to be a rough one for him because I think our defensive line is going to make his game a living hell.
Okay.
Because it'll be the first. I think it'll be because I watched some of Notre Dame and he's just standing there waiting for someone to get open.
Yeah.
And if we can get a defensive line or send a blitz like a corner or a safety or somebody, and we can get in there and pressure him to make a bad throw, then Denzel Burke or somebody else will make him throw his first pick.
Yeah, I think Jim Knowles has put some pretty I don't know what creative show something back out into something else. It's not really easy to read pre-snap. Maybe that's a problem for Hartman. I don't know. He's done for over 9,000 yards. He's played for 15 years in college. Maybe that's not a problem for him. But Max, who wins this game? Give me a score.
Ohio State. It's going to be a big one. 42-17.
42-17. Wow. Okay. I think it's a lot closer than that. I think I'm along like where Jameson is. I think like 35-27, 34-20, something like that. I think it's going to be a closer
most they win by 10.
Because Ohio State this week, they're going to answer the call. They're going to answer, oh, you say we're number 6 over a team like USC who hasn't had the best strength of schedule, and we've had a conference opponent already. And I'm going to say, I think Notre Dame should be in the Big Ten. I don't know why they're an independent. It'd be reasonable.
That money, dude.
Money. They print their own money. They
are,
would lose money coming into a conference. That's it. That's period.
They are in the Big Ten for hockey, so I mean
they're in the Big Ten for hockey and stuff like that. But
yeah,
they're in the ACC for basketball.
Yeah,
they're in the ACC for basketball.
They kind of just picked their own conference and they're like, okay, we're going in this one for this.
They're going to be in the AFC North for football before too long.
I think Ohio State's just going to walk all over them this weekend.
Okay, that's fair. And listen, believe it or not, it's almost time. It's probably a little bit even past time to get out of here, but we can't get out of here without talking about, obviously what happened Monday night to the Browns. It was a terrible loss. I mean, the game, obviously they lost the game. Nick Chubb is gone for the season. Man, it feels very bleak. You know what I mean? Like, it just felt like, and I told you guys last week, it was going to be one of those weird score type of games. It really felt like it. It's a typical Steelers-Browns matchup. And you might have noticed that if you look in the corner, we've got the tribute up to Nick Chubb. I mean, just, obviously we know he's still alive. We were thinking about him, we obviously hope for the best, praying for a quick recovery as quick as possible. Hope he gets back on the field. Truthfully, I just hope he's able to,
Run
use
again.
his leg the right way and walk again. That's the most important thing. Would love to see him back on the field, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, what is there to really break down from that game? Deshaun Watson was absolutely horrible. Jedrick Wills, I think, would be a really good
Bench rider.
Well, yeah, he's a really good open door, right? You can walk right through, no problem. Like, maybe he's that. I don't know. I just don't
be a
trust
door
this
holder for
offensive
somebody.
line enough to give Deshaun Watson enough time to be comfortable. He looks like he's got happy feet in the pocket. When he had time to throw, the throws were off. I don't know, man. He's getting paid almost $3 million a game. You would hope he would figure it out. I don't know. What do you guys think about this, Jackson? I'll start with you because you got that hat on, man. What were your takeaways from this Monday night game?
First of all, it's only appropriate you start with me because I have the hat on.
Exactly.
Second of all, prayers to Nick Chubb. It's not about the Steelers Browns thing, and that's fun and all, but ultimately it's about people's health. Humanity first. That's somebody's career. So as a Steeler fan, I just want to give my, not condolences, but to all you Browns fans, I just want to give you my respect, let you guys know I feel it. I feel that. On to the game.
And that's been the overwhelming kind of message, I think, coming out of Pittsburgh. Or just, from Steelers fans.
Well, I just, like they were saying, I was quiet this morning, I wasn't gloating, and I just was saying it's hard to gloat when I feel like, honestly, nobody won. There was no real winner. I mean, I wanted to beat the Browns with Chubb. I didn't want to walk away with the Browns dub without Chubb. That just feels kind of mid to me.
That's worse than mid, man. Yeah, that's awful. Yeah.
I mean, I just feel like it's a setback on the season.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted the Browns to be in that competitive conversation this year. I really feel like that game was telling, but it was like the Colorado State game. There was so much emotion. There was so much otherness involved. You could throw the records out, but I don't think the Browns are as bad as people think offensively. I don't think the Steelers are as bad. I just think it's still early. Defensively, both teams looked great. Both teams looked lights out. Browns defense looked like if Chubb had played, Browns probably would have won that game.
Yeah.
So,
listen, we've never seen a team in the NFL go into the fourth quarter with negative rushing yards in a game and win. That was wild. It was just a crazy game.
Yeah, it felt weird. You were right about the score. It was awesome.
Yeah. It was pretty bad. I don't know. It just feels like I don't even want to break down the game. I don't even want to go over it. I
was gonna say it doesn't seem like there's. To be honest, that game there's not much analysis you can take from it. It was such a weird game on both sides that I really don't think you can say, oh, that's what the Browns are going to be all season, or oh, that's what the Steelers are going to be all season, because it was just such a weird game back and forth. So I really don't think there's much analysis you can take.
I'll say one thing. I think all of us in this room could run by Jedrick Wills.
Yeah, most of us could walk by him.
Yeah.
Sorry. I mean, I'm not trying to. I don't want to dump on the guy, but man, it's been really bad. It's been bad.
That's the thing. I feel like because of Chubb's injury, it's like a gut-wrenching loss. Like nobody wants to analyze the game and all the turnovers, But we said earlier in the show with the breaking news they got Kareem Hunt back, reunited for a 1-year, $4 million deal, and with their upcoming game this week against the Titans, it'll be interesting to see how much they actually play him with Ford, because when Ford took over for Chubb, Ford did pretty well. I mean, he had that big run that set up the 1 touchdown, and
Outside of that run, the yards per carry weren't great. They weren't there.
They weren't,
Mhm.
but they were
Because they were
decent enough. They kept him in the game, you know?
Ford was our whole offense in the second half. Ford was the whole offense.
Yeah, it wasn't number 4.
Yeah.
Nope.
That's the thing with Watson. Like he like you said earlier, Chad, his throws weren't accurate. And obviously it's like with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. It's like with Deshaun Watson and Cooper. You can't only throw to Cooper. First, Bryant has to learn how to catch a football, but besides that, you can't just throw to Cooper. You have to throw to Moore. You have to throw to Bell. You got to throw to Njoku
Get
more.
David Njoku involved, please.
That's
I'm sick of
that-
him. Get him
He doesn't
involved.
fumble.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Like he doesn't throw to Njoku enough, and when he does, Njoku makes plays.
It was a 30-yard screen.
It's like
It's 1st and 20.
it was like the Cowboys last season when they had David Schultz. He was the tight end for the Cowboys, and they threw to him, and he was the reason why they won some games. Same thing with the Chiefs and Travis Kelce. Like if you use your tight end more, you will have success. Same with the Ravens and Andrews. You could go on and on and on with teams in the past. But that's the thing. They have to throw Njoku more. Brian has to learn how to catch a football. And you can't, when you run, you can't hold the football out like this. You got to keep it tucked tight. That's why he fumbled it twice. Like you can't go all willy-nilly like that. That's a rookie mistake.
Yeah.
Even if you're a running back, you got to keep it cup and tight. It's just football 101. And he's got to look at film and adjust and execute against Tennessee.
I do have some analysis on the Browns offense. It just seems like there's no easy completions. Like all the throws are 15 yards downfield and the timing's off.
That's the error.
It's the timing is off with this Browns offense is what I've noticed, especially the passing game. We got to get more easy completions on schemed up because run Elijah Moore in some slants, throw some more tight ends are supposed to be like that, a safety blanket. It just doesn't seem like that's going on in the offense right now. There's no
And
easy
the timing is
completions.
most likely off because Deshaun Watson has to check his blind side a lot more quickly than he should have to. I mean, that's a reason.
He should be comfortable because I'm going to go back to the Baker days here. 2019, his second year, he was all jittery, nowhere to go. Like he was all like, oh, 2020, he was calm, able to throw the ball on time.
Yeah.
And it's happening to Watson now too. He's getting all nervous because he doesn't trust his offensive line. Because he's right-handed hitter. Wills is on the left side. If Wills can't block anybody, Watson's going to get hit in the back and his head's going to hit the ground hard. And it's going to cough at the ball because he's literally like, oh, gotta look behind me real quick. And he's not looking at the open receiver that could be downfield. He's got to look behind himself to make sure no one's coming instead of looking downfield and completing a pass that could be wide open.
Yeah. I mean, Jameson, you said before the show, I think you still have the Browns winning 11 games, right?
Yeah, I still have them in the 10 to 11 mark, second place behind the Ravens. Not much to take away from the game. Obviously, you want Nick Chubb to get healthy. You just don't want to see anything like that. That's not good. It's not good for the franchise. It's not good for Nick Chubb. It's not good for City, his family. It's not good for the NFL. It's just not. But
even for the NFLPA, it's bad on that front too. But running backs are trying to fight for their lives right now.
Exactly. That is the literally, and that's all we've seen. It Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, Austin Eckler already.
And these owners are just well, why would I pay these guys?
It's really shaky. But I think 4. That's what I'm gonna call him. I'm not saying his name anymore until he performs good. I think 4 has to absolutely get his accuracy down and just he's got to I know it's hard when Jedrick Wills is your left tackle, but you just got to sit in there and you just got to fire it. You cannot because if you look just like Max and Nick and Jared, everyone said he's missing open receivers. I mean, if you watch the game, Elijah Moore had 2 sideline catches that could have very well have been huge first downs, but they were just out. Why? Because the ball was just out of bounds. And, he's got
Is it a mechanics thing? A lot of his throws are sailing high. Is that mechanics?
Yes.
I mean, What is it?
Well, I feel like he's always throwing into tight windows. Like he doesn't have
Yeah.
space to throw
There's
at.
no easy completion.
But
And is he
also,
overcorrecting because every throw last week was low?
He might have been
that's what I think
overcorrecting.
he's
He
doing.
might have
He's
been
overcorrecting on it.
He might
He's
have been.
Yeah.
thinking, oh, if I throw it a little bit, he's releasing
Yeah.
it back here. That's why it's going so high.
He's
Last-
got to just
in
play
week-
football.
Week
Yeah,
one,
That's
he was
all I can
releasing
say.
it like
He's
out
gotta
here.
just play
Think.
football.
You can't
He's gotta
think.
just-
Yeah, you can't think more than you act. You've got to
I
act.
have our-
That's what I'm
easily
saying. He's just got to
seconds
go
for the
out
ball.
there and just play.
have
Just
our-
He's got to go back to the Clemson days. I mean, he's a scrambling
Yes.
quarterback. You know, if he can
Yes.
scramble out of the pocket, I mean, he was doing it a little bit on Monday, but I mean, he shouldn't have to do it all the time. But if he
Right.
can execute the run like a Lamar Jackson and Geno Smith, you know, he'll have more success.
Let's
Right,
put
I'm
an
not
RPO
asking for
chapter in the
prime
playbook
Michael
for him. Let's
Vick,
get some. Let's
but-
open it up a little
but
bit and let him
use your
create.
legs.
Right?
I
Maybe.
have-
Right.
Speaking of our offense line, I have our grades here. So,
Okay.
Jedrick Wills on run blocking, 38.7. He was 54th of 57 in the offensive line in left tackle this week. Joel Bitonio was 27th of 58, 60.8%. Ethan Pocic was 71.4, 7th of 31 in center, so he was pretty good this week. Wyatt Teller, 72.6, 8th out of 58 right guards. And
Doesn't surprise me.
DeJuan Jones in run blocking, 33.1, 56th of 57. So,
He was
But-
better
but-
in pass pro. He was better in
He
pass
was-
yeah,
pro.
where was-
Will's
yeah.
bad in both pass pro and run.
and then we go to the passing. Jedrick Wills got 50th of 70th, 57.9 in passing. Batonio 7th of 68, 78.7. Pocic 64.2, 16th of 33. Teller 23rd of 68, 68.3%. And DeJuan Jones, here's the difference, 71.4%, 32nd to 70th.
I hear one outlier. That's
It's
Jedrick.
Jedrick.
It's Jedrick Wills.
It just
It's
What
like
point do you just put a
statistically-
construction barrel over there at left tackle and just I mean it's the same thing. You got to go around it, right? You still I mean
no, and give the construction barrel a visor so it can't see, right?
The
Or,
fact,
you
the
know,
fact
fine.
that
Give them
he,
some
like,
sleeves, some
when someone
elbow
goes
pads,
around,
make them
like,
look nice. Look
after he's
nice.
blocking somebody, like.
give him the
after-
weekend at Bernie's treatment, prop him up. I mean it'll be fine. Yeah.
Like,
Listen, it's I can't believe it's time to get out of here, but it is. After the weekend at Bernie's quip, it's time to get out of here. Some things that we didn't have time to get to that I wanted to talk about today are some of our NFL takeaways just from around the league. Most surprising team, real quick, just guys, we're gonna go Jared, Max. It sounds like Jared Mack. I like that. Jared, Max, Nick, Jackson, Jameson, and then me. Give me your most surprising team. No analysis, just give me a team. Who surprised you, good or bad?
The team that surprised me the most is the Commanders, 2-0 on the season.
Yeah. Max, what do you think?
I'm gonna go Miami because of a healthy Tua.
Okay. All right. How long does that last, the healthy Tua?
I think because over the training camp, they had a camera on his helmet, so they saw what he sees during the play.
Okay.
So I think that insight over the offseason helped McDaniel and the coaching staff understand what
Okay.
he goes through on a play and how they could fix that mistake from his eyes. So I
Okay,
think
that's a
he'll
really
be-
good point. That's a brilliant idea. That's a really good point, Max. Nick, what do you think?
I'm
who's
gonna go
your
in a
surprise?
different direction here. They went two surprisingly good teams. I'm gonna go with the surprisingly bad team. It's not even surprising at this point, but the Chargers are 0-2. And
Yeah.
they have so much talent and they just can't seem to pull out these close games. I think Brandon Staley's the number one coach in the hot seat right now. So if they don't get better, he's gone.
Fair. Jackson, who surprised you?
Denver. They're 0-2. I thought Sean Payton would have got them a W by now. I thought Russell Wilson would have got a W by now. I picked them to beat Washington. That game was winnable. Somehow they didn't win that game. So what happens is people come to class talking about Washington's a surprise. So in that case, I got to go with Denver, 0-2.
Fair.
Didn't see that.
That's fair. Jameson, who you got?
I'm going to go with one of my divisional winners I had. I'm going with the Atlanta Falcons for being 2-0 with their archaic style of football and having a
And 1930s offense, baby.
It's
Whatever, man.
working.
As long as it gets
Yeah.
the job done,
Yeah.
like
right. I mean, 9-8 ain't got to be sexy, man.
They need to
No,
use
man,
picks more.
I'm looking forward to them featuring the wing tee next weekend, so that'll be fun. That'll be a nice wrinkle. Hey, listen, my team is it's not that they're 2-0, it's how they're 2-0 and how they've done it. It's the Cowboys. I mean, the Cowboys are just blowing everybody out right now. I don't know that lasts. It's the NFL. Crazy things happen, but it looks like maybe Jerry Jones's push to light a fire under Dak Prescott may have worked. He's not playing great, but he's, I don't know, managing the offense, not really making any mistakes. They look pretty good. They're getting all kinds of special teams help and all kinds of help from everywhere on the field, but it surprised me that they've outscored teams 70-10. I didn't see that come.
New York
I think it's
teams.
almost better. That's how they're winning, though.
Yeah. Jackson, what was that?
They're only good against teams from New York. If you're not going to play New York every week.
I mean, let's
That's
be
fair.
real here. Let's be real. As a Cowboys fan, we have the Cardinals this week. There's no reason we should lose to the Cardinals.
So the Cowboys
with
are
Dobbs as
3-0.
quarterback.
Okay.
When you have Micah Parsons and Van Der Esch as your linebackers, and you have Gilmore and Diggs as your corners, that's just bad news. I truly believe Parsons gets at least 2 sacks on Dobbs this Sunday. There's no reason why he shouldn't. I mean, he's doing so many different things to improve himself each and every day. They were talking about it on the broadcast this past Sunday against the Jets, like how he's really gone into boxing just to get his hand movement down, to get away from linemen, to get faster and quicker to the quarterback. And it's obviously paying off.
Well, let me ask you this, too, Jared. You're the Cowboys fan. How long before he has a touchdown catch? I mean, he's getting some reps at tight end in practice, too, a little bit.
Parsons?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if they want to do a trick play
Heavy package.
or they're up by a lot of points, who knows?
To him like the Texans.
Well, J.J. Watt
J.J.
action, man.
Watt,
I don't
yeah.
know. Why not?
I mean, they could against the Cardinals this week. I mean,
That would be the game to do it. Yes.
That would be the game to try it out, right?
Parsons
is a linebacker.
38-0. That would be the game to try it out, yeah. In
Is
the
that
first
like
half.
TJ Watt? He's a linebacker and defensive end.
He does more coverage than TJ Watt.
Hey, JJ
Yeah,
Watt
Jackson,
caught
go
his
ahead.
first touchdown as a tight end.
Yeah, right? See what I'm saying?
Hey, Chad, what's the best thing about being 2-0?
Got the chance to go 3-0. And listen, man, we got to get out of here. We're always undefeated. We'll never lose. Who's going to beat us? For Jared, for Max, I remember his name. For Nick, for Jackson, for Jameson, for all the analysts that we've lost that are out there flapping in the wind, Ben, Aiden, everybody, old producer Byron.
Miss
You
you,
don't know where
Ben.
Brian is. Brian's probably jet lagged to the end of time, I would imagine, from that travel. We hope to get him back in here soon. But yeah, guys, this has been another episode of Come On Ref. We appreciate you watching. Remember to like and subscribe. Share the page. Again, now it's going to be on my page for another week, I think, and then we'll get back to normal. But yeah, just share with your friends. Comment on the show. Tell us what we did wrong. Tell us what we did right. It's probably a shorter list of what we did right, but that's okay. We're trying. And again, we just appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
See ya.
Take care.
Peace.
Go Bucks.